We are here to get the word out and get people out to vote, because I do not vote. Freddie wants to vote.
Yeah.
William votes. But it is, I feel, time that I do vote, because I think we need to do, it's hard to always say that one vote matters or one vote can count, but I think we do need to educate people and make a change. So,
And especially you went to the class, so you know it's not corrupt or anything like that.
oh man, that class was legit. I'm glad I went to it, because it was, security for voting is crazy. And in Colorado, I guess I mean, there's steps to it. There's, step 1, 2, 3, and if you can't mess up, you can't take shortcuts, you can't break the wrong seal, you can't put the wrong seal on. It's hard to say that. I don't think anybody can cheat.
Was Colorado one of those states that were corrupt with
That's maybe we'll get into that a little more, because I'm not too familiar. I know there was questions and there's some recounts at one time. I don't know if it was in the was it 16?
There was some questions in the 2022.
2022. Okay. So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, there was. It's just hard to see how that there could have been, in my opinion. I don't know, but with that, we'll get into our guest. I'll let them both of them introduce themselves, a little background, kind of what they got going on in election season, and how they came out to Fort Morgan. So, Jerry?
Actually, let's start with ladies first.
Okay, Dusty first. All right.
returning for the second round.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for letting me come back. My name's Dusty Johnson, running to be your next House representative for District 63. District 63 has 7 counties: Morgan, Logan, Phillip, Sedgwick, Washington, Yuma, and portions of Weld. How I got here in Fort Morgan is I live in Fort Morgan, just out in the countryside on the south. So grew up here, know the community, really have grown up in the Northeast, from sports to leadership positions to the different members that I've worked for at both the congressional and state levels, doing a whole bunch of policy and really just wanting to be that advocate out here from the plains to the Capitol. And so I'm spending a lot of my campaign on educational outreach, going to hospitals, going to schools, speaking with students, doing ride-alongs, visiting jails and prisons, visiting, ranches and feedlots, and anything else people are inviting me to, so that way I could see their story, see firsthand what they're going through, and then be able to be that voice and represent their stories up at the Capitol. And so I'm enjoying that. I did go to the Ballot University, what Juan was alluding to with that class done by our clerk and recorder, Kevin Strau. Amazing with transparency. Anyone who wants to know about the election process, he will educate them. He will answer questions, let you see what's going on. This is the second one he's done publicly. He's done a lot with school groups, a lot with both the Democrat and Republican Party, doing it in a nonpartisan way just to show what the process is. And if you ever have questions on that in Morgan County, definitely reach out to Kevin and other counties in Northeast. We have amazing clerks. They want to answer those questions. They just can't answer them if they don't know what you're thinking. So reach out to them, and I think that's the platform for anything. Your candidates, your elected officials, ask questions, get them involved, get involved in the process, and make sure you're getting your story told. Yep. And it doesn't have to be you telling the story if you don't want to put yourself in the limelight. Tell your members, tell your candidates, because they should be your statesmen. They should be wanting to be your voice, and they should really be working
thank you for dimming the lights, because I do look better in the dark.
And how do you pronounce exactly your last name?
My name is Jerry Sonnenberg.
Sonnenberg, okay.
Yeah, I'm one of those fourth generation farmers and ranchers out in northeastern Colorado. I actually live in southeast of Sterling, between Sterling and Otis, on the family farm out there. Live in the same house, actually, that my father and I were both raised in. I raised my children there. Wow. Been on that farm for over 100 years. It's a centennial farm. Excited, have deep roots in this community as a farmer and rancher. I'm running for Congress for the 4th Congressional District, which is Ken Buck's old district. It basically is 21 counties, and I won't go through all the counties because that'll take most of the time up. But it's basically the eastern plains east of I-25, and that includes part of west of I-25 in Larimer County, as well as the vast majority of Douglas County. So Douglas County is about half the district. And I'm a farmer and rancher. I served in the legislature for 16 years. I had the pleasure of having Dusty run my office for a couple of those years, actually the last 2 years that I was in the Colorado Senate. I was president pro tem of the Colorado Senate the last time Republicans were able to stop some of the Democrat agenda in Denver, and proud of the work that I've done in the legislature those 16 years. Worked across the aisle, still maintained true to my principles and character and integrity, and I think that's what's important in an elected official. We don't have that much anymore when it comes to integrity and character and honesty, and I think it's important that we have our elected officials have those traits.
Where do you think when we did the voting, the university ballot, our ballot university, my question I just kept in my mind, I thought, where did we lose trust in each other so much?
Well, when you say lose trust in each other, rather than the voting itself, the voting integrity, or how we became divided as a country?
I think both, because I think it had to happen at the same time.
I don't know that it necessarily happened in the same time, but let me talk a little bit about the election integrity. As Dusty said, we have some of the greatest clerks in the world.
Yeah.
Here in the rural Colorado that double verify, triple verify, they relay are true. There are a couple, quite frankly, that we have struggled with in Colorado that things may not add up. For example, in 2022, there was a senator that had part of Boulder County, Longmont part. And when he went to bed, he also had Larimer County in that Senate district. When he went to bed election night, he noted how many votes he had that night and how many votes the Democrats had that night. And then several days later, when the final results came in, it was interesting because all of the ballots they counted after that night appeared to all vote for his opponent. So there was some question brought up. We no way to prove it. Don't know anything for sure. But it was interesting to see that. Now, when you talk about the divide in the country, I'm not sure that is tied to election integrity. I think that's more tied to there's a number of factors that I think have caused that. I would argue that maybe social media has been a part of that, simply because you say things to people on social media that you would never say to your face, or your mom would slap you.
The keyboard tough guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we have become divided because there's so many people now that are unwilling to have a conversation. When I started in the legislature, even when I was in the minority party, you learned how to build relationships, you learned how to have conversations, you learned how to solve problems. And the farther we got along in the last couple of years when we were up there, it became even more challenging just to have a conversation. And it didn't matter if it was within your own party, because there's a divide within both parties, or on the other side of the aisle. It became a challenge to have rational conversations. Just because you don't agree on a certain issue, you just become the enemy. And I can tell you that if my marriage was like that, because my wife and I don't even agree all the time. She's wrong quite a bit, but that's...
We won't tell her that.
yeah, she'll probably watch this.
Yeah.
But, you figure out how to work through whether you disagree with a business partner or a spouse or somebody on the opposite side of the policy. And I think that's one of the things that I have brought to the table through my time in the legislature, is figuring out how to build those relationships.
The division is getting easier now because there's a lot of followers. Nobody has their own mindset. So if whoever they're following, even if they're wrong, they're going to side with them. Yeah. You can't tell them anything, So the division is easier now. Nobody has the...
Then I think that you've probably seen more division when living in New York than you do here. I mean,
yeah.
A little more close-knit here than in New York.
Yeah. In New York, there's more people, obviously, but they're separated in minorities in New York. So whoever is rocking with the minority crowd, that's who the crowd is going to go with, whether they're right or not.
Yeah. And what do you think, Jerry? And but Dusty also, when it comes to race, are we getting better or are we getting worse?
You know, race issue, I think it's a philosophy issue, quite frankly, because for me, I don't care about your race.
Yeah.
I mean, let's sit down and have a conversation, and there's some things we're going to agree on. I don't care what race you are. Yep. And actually, that's the way America was built,
Yep.
quite frankly. And, you know, when you talk about New York, they have larger sectors of different populations, whether it's race or social status or income, rather than a rural community here like Fort Morgan, where you know, you may not lock the doors on your house because you're in a great community. And
Back in the day, we didn't, but now we do.
yeah. See, and I won't tell people where I live just
Yeah.
in case they're listening and want to come out, but I don't even know where my house keys are.
Yeah.
I mean, that house I live out in the country, and quite frankly, if they want in the house, they're going to get in the house. So have at it.
And it's hard to separate by race in Fort Morgan because, well, the Morgan County is so small. It's a melting pot, but everybody's mixed in together.
Yep.
In New York, you have your Hispanic crowds, your black crowds, your Chinese crowds, your Arab
Even like
crowds.
a bit divided in neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, it's really divided. And it's been like that, man, since the 40s and 50s, man.
Yeah.
And out here, it's a melting pot. Everybody's together. So it's hard to sit here and say it's by race.
Yeah. What do you think, Dustin?
No, I think it's really because the media wants the loudest voice, they want conflict. We now group ourselves, whether that's Republican versus Democrat, because if you're getting along, the news doesn't care. They won't report it.
Yeah.
If you're really looking to be that show horse, you're looking to get that media coverage, you start yelling, you start adding, conflict, you start attacking.
And
And
that was
you need to be able to work across the aisle. It's the same with this race issue.
Yeah.
The louder.
And that's the biggest reason too. I quit watching TV. I know Freddie watches more. We're in National Geographic. He's stuck
Yeah,
on
I'm
right
National
now.
Geographic,
But
man.
I haven't watched TV. It's almost 9 years now.
Really?
Because I get stuck on the politics stuff of it and the news, and I just get irritated. I quit watching the NFL because of the whole Kaepernick thing. This whole story in itself, but I just got tired of it. I mean, I think the internet too it's getting abused because I think it was put there for a learning tool, not for what we use it for. I mean, I know I use social media a lot, but it's the only way to get out to people. But I think you should be learning to use it, learning what it's for. So.
You actually did a good thing of not watching TV for 9 years, being a Cowboy fan, especially.
Raiders fan, Cowboy fan, Broncos.
Oh yeah, Broncos.
Yeah. William. Oh man.
You mentioned football, though. Vikings are going to become the first stadium to have a completely vegan food choice within
I
their
saw that.
stadium.
I saw
They want to
that,
get rid of
yeah.
agricultural
And that's my
beef and most
son's-
ag products.
That's my son's favorite team. He's 10. It's his room's all Vikings. So.
There's always controversy towards the two. They said, how you going to be a vegan stadium and you're a Viking?
Yeah.
It doesn't go together.
Yeah. Exactly. It don't.
Yeah.
So I know. We Dustin and I touched on a few issues that we probably. I think I need to probably learn or understand a little bit more. One of the first ones is I'm gonna go this route first before we get into that. Is I think that we need to not only on your level, I think we need to dumb it down for people, for myself, and I'm saying it for myself because at times I don't understand what. I mean, if I have to go back and read and look up these words, look up what this means, what it means to do this, and how we get to that process. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah, me too. Simplify it into layman terms,
Yeah.
language that I can understand, that it doesn't sound foreign to me.
Yeah.
If it was English, it just sounds foreign to me.
And I think that's where a lot of people. I think I might have been a reason why I was scared to vote, maybe because I didn't want to vote wrong.
You know, you make a valid point, and I struggled with that for years as well because you have to understand that it's lawyers that draft the laws, and they have entire political science divisions at higher universities to deal with how to do politics, and we've made an attempt in Colorado to try and make it simpler to put our statutes, new bills that we write in layman's terms, but it's still complicated.
Yeah.
When you put in something to the effect and then reference another part of the statute, it makes it almost impossible for a general citizen to be able to understand what that means. We do produce documents on each bills that help try to put it in layman's terms and explain what it is. But the amendments that we make on bills, and I'm probably already getting too deep in the weeds here, aren't reflected on those fiscal notes. But that's a challenge to understand. And then what happens is the press gives you a headline and a short story
And jumble it up.
and try to cover a 29 or a 50-page bill in a short little story that doesn't do it justice, and it gets people all wound up. The bill may actually be a good bill. It also may be a bad bill, but you get another 30-second soundbite or whatever that short span is on the news to try and explain it, and that becomes a challenge. It's a very valid argument that it's hard to understand what the laws that you're supposed to live by, and then there's another sector of that is after you pass a law, oftentimes these government agencies take that law and do a rulemaking to try and figure out how to implement that law, and that makes it even more complicated.
So I've been in my family's been in the liquor business for 32 years. Even reading those laws, being here that long, is hard to understand. It gets confusing.
And the liquor battles up at the Capitol are annual.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there was one, what is today, Monday, Thursday night maybe, there was a liquor bill up in committee. It just seems that we have trouble leaving the liquor industry alone, and there's so many competing factions in there. I'm thrilled to death that we still have small little local liquor stores, because I was fearful when I was in the legislature they were running bills that would have made it very difficult for us to stay in business.
They like the tobacco and alcohol like that big tax. I mean, huge tax money.
Indeed, what we call sin taxes up there. That let's get a tax. Only it's a fee. It's not a tax, because you can't have a tax unless it's voted on by the people. So we'll call it a fee, and we'll charge you more for that or your license or whatever, and then we'll put it for somewhere else rather than something that's associated with your industry. And that's one of the frustrating things.
If you're not educated, man,
Yeah.
you're gonna fall right
If we didn't have those fees on there, that carton of Marlboros would be around $30 instead of 100 plus right now. It's just crazy. And then they just raised it another $2.50 this morning.
Yeah.
So it's just,
in Manhattan, New York, man, a pack of Newports, man, almost $20.
oh man,
Pack, man, it's like $18 for a pack of cigarettes.
that's just crazy. That's just crazy. So we'll get, now that we get, like I said, I think if we slow it down for some, I know for myself, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but
And Juan, I would add, I mean, it is going to be complicated, the process. Who you hire to be your voice, your leader, should be able to translate that back and forth. And I wouldn't even say dumb it down. I would say peopleify it.
Yeah.
The more complicated you make something and the more you try to over-explain, usually means it's probably not a good idea. They just don't want you to understand it, and they want to use fancy words to fluff it up.
they want you to figure it out.
If it's point, simple, to the point, common sense, it could still be an 8-page bill at the state level or a couple hundred pages, because that's how they need to operate with statutes and writing it. But you should be able to sell it in a clear, concise way that you're not tripping up and having to use fancy wording. We just saw this with the ballot initiative, who was trying to get rid of Tabor last year. And it was so convoluted and over-explained because they couldn't sell it honestly, because they knew how bad it was.
So do they tuck away the words that we understand, just try and tuck it away into the bottom of the next paragraph, and keep going?
Well, and I think it really is find someone you trust that can give it to you non-biased, tell you both sides, and then tell you their opinion.
So that's
That way people can make an educated decision. Now, I'm always going to have a leaning. I'm a human. I'm going to be biased. But if it's good, common sense initiatives at the end of the day, people should be led to that. And tell them in simple terms what it is and make it the people's government. But if you don't understand the system, the government rules you, not the people.
Yeah. Then we get into that. The back in the day, it was just trust, right? Back streets of New York, or just streets here in Martin, it was just a trust thing. You trust the word of someone, or your dad trusts the word of his friend, and handshake.
But you need to verify. Trust but verify. Ronald Reagan.
True. But
And
now,
also do your own work into it.
I just think that I don't know if it hurts more, bothers people more. I mean, no, it does me than that. You have to fact check your friend, your family member, or whoever.
Yeah.
Because
Now, everybody's corrupt now, man.
Yeah.
This, even your own family.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to do your homework.
Definitely. So we'll get into some more of the government here. So Freddie and I and William, when we started this podcast, we do it's called Brew&Chew for food and beverage reviews. Freddie does hot dogs, New York style hot dogs. I obviously have a liquor store, and William, him and I became friends because of our kids and the class that we took together. And he does our cameras and pays attention over that stuff for us, helps us out quite a bit. So when we bring someone on, we know the gist of what we want to talk about, but I just tell him what a topic is or the gist of it, and we figure out our own questions. So it might not be the same. It's never going to be the same, but it might not be the same topic. We'll go back and forth, but I think it's better that way because then we're not together trying to pounce on whoever we're interviewing, because then it's just not fair. So then we both have deficient
conversation.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
instead of
So we'll get into local government, local, state, and federal. Want to talk about Dustin want to talk about that a little bit, and just understanding the steps in the process, starting from the bottom up. I don't know. Someday maybe I might be interested in it. I've thought about it, so we'll see how it goes. My first voting year, and we'll go from there. But where would you is a good place to start out in the local, as far as to getting educated?
Well, you can get involved in so many different aspects of local government, and I didn't say it at the beginning, but I'm currently, when I was termed out in the legislature in 22, I was elected as a county commissioner in Logan County. So I not only farm and ranch, but I'm a county commissioner in that local government. There are so many opportunities to get involved. You don't even have to be an elected official to get involved. You can serve on Planning and Zoning Commission, where you work on land use issues. You can be part of the school board. You can serve on boards of a local fire district, or any of those options, city council, any of those things. You have an opportunity to make a difference where you can go and learn and be part of the solution. And I encourage people. I actually president of the board of the Colorado Agriculture Leadership Program, and that's what we teach those people in that 2-year program is you don't have to be an elected official to have an impact. You may want to just be a leader in your own industry, whether it's a trade group. In my world, wheat growers or cattlemen, or you may want to be part of your liquor association and have an impact there. I don't know if they have a food truck or that type of group that
We can
comes
make it
together.
Absolutely. Probably like the health department or something might have a food kind of like the liquor board.
But I would say on an advocacy part, something, because the liquor industry has a group, and I don't remember what it's called now, but it's a bunch of liquor store owners come together and represent the rest of them and make decisions at the Capitol, say, hey, we need to lobby on this bill. This bill is terrible. You might have that. For example, what usually brings that about is overregulation. So when someone starts to overregulate an industry, people start to band together and say, hey, we got to push back. And if that's not happening, if you're not having that issue in food trucks or street sales, those type of things, leave it alone. But there may be a time when you want to put a group together of all of us street vendors or a bunch of us street vendors to advocate at the county if they're charging too much for or making it too difficult for you to do business. Those are the ways to get involved
That's a good
locally.
idea right there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, another way, so I'm the former chairman of the Morgan County Republicans, so you can get involved with your local party. And what we would do is educational outreach as well, where we would go and just hand out constitutions. We would go to local, student groups and try to make young Republicans so they became involved. We like to teach people that we are a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. That's the way our founders set us up. And it's supposed to be grassroots levels, which we just went through a caucus and assembly season. Caucus being that every county has certain precincts that they're broken down to, so they're almost like little little areas, kind of like states, but within the county. They come together as a voice and they pick who they want to be a delegate for and represent them then at a county level. So it really is breaking it down to the smallest people that we can to get better representation as you move your way upward and showing people what's going on, educating people, putting forums together so people are coming and talking to them and they know who to reach out to. And that can go for both sides of politics, or it could just be a group, like Jerry said, that you're coming together and you want to see change, and you bring a community foundation together that anytime there is wind and destroyed property, anytime a child gets sick, you want to create funding that you can support people at the community level without all this extra government regulation and have a say of where your funds are going to help them, or where your initiative and your group wants to go to help get kids involved, whether it's helping them get passes to the pool or getting them involved with pizza and just having them read the Constitution. No bias there, just read and educate about what your duties are when you turn 18.
So what about someone, so like Freddie and I, that were looking for that path or that, I don't know if you want to say side, but looking for that, you want to be Republican, you want to vote Democrat, you want to vote, so where do people go like that? Where would we go?
Right, and that's easily, a people initiative of, when I was chair, it was an open forum. Anyone, any party affiliation could come and show up so they can learn from people. If a group wanted to get together, which I know a high school group actually currently did get together, now I think they want to keep it at high school level, so adults could do this too. Bring a group together that you're not affiliated, but you want candidates from both sides to come talk with you. You want officials from both sides to talk to you.
Something like this.
You have questions on liquor, you have questions on food vendors. I might have questions on how do I update, my pickup.
Yeah.
And fix that. Bring them all together, start researching in your niches, you work together as a group, and make people come to you.
I think that's the issue, is getting everyone to work together anymore.
That and modernizing also. What are you guys doing to modernize? Because the attention span of people right now, 6 seconds, 10 seconds the most. So to me, to get the following that we want to get, we got to hit it with social media, because, social media we say is a bad thing, but we can also use it for good, and I think that'll be a good way to reach the youth, to get them involved. We go to school. I remember being in school, we had class presidents, class vice presidents. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have that in Fort Morgan? Do
That,
they not have
well, my
It's
son's
teacher elected, it's not process.
my son's 10, and he hasn't come home with that. I remember we did it in the third, fourth grade. That's when we started.
Big thing for us.
You
man.
had secretary, you had the vice president, the president. You voted for it.
Yeah.
Everyone always makes fun of the Napoleon Dynamite, the vote for Pedro type of thing. We all had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know.
That's where I got
no.
my start. I was class president of
Yeah.
the 6th grade 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
I think you missed that one. But I don't think you could find that in the schools. I could be wrong, but I haven't had my son talk about it.
I know where my wife teaches, they still have
they?
student council and
Okay.
and elect.
Now, they still do have like brain ball and then the competition ones where then you have a captain and stuff like that. But I don't think my son hasn't talked about it. I'm gonna have to ask him again, but I don't think so. Which is I remember for school that we don't do anymore, that I don't see, is that I remember we learned about the presidents that were running. Mm-hmm. They gave us a pamphlet or cutouts. We colored. We read about them, but we were taught both sides. And then the day of election, and when they called it, you respected who got the seat. We don't no more. And that just irritates me so much that we don't. Whether it's Bush, Obama, Clinton, Trump, Biden, the day after election when it was called, you respected the chair. And what even gets me more is that the guys that don't respect the chair have the same family members in the military, and that's your commander-in-chief. So how can you disrespect that and then disrespect your son or your daughter? That irritates me. I don't know. It changed probably, I would say at least 10 years ago. That's when it started changing.
Yeah, it's probably pretty close. We started to see deterioration. Our forefathers were so brilliant to be able to set up a peaceful transfer of power that we did for over 200 years. And it seems to, again, it goes back to that divisiveness that we have, whatever is causing that, the number of the different factors that's causing that. But yeah, you're exactly right.
They did more with less. Imagine the unity with the technology we have now. We're supposed to all be one.
Yeah, it's easier to get at each other, talk to each other to conversate. And I think it's just getting worse and worse. So, what about on the state level and the federal level? I mean, I'm sure there it just gets, I don't want to say cutthroat, but it gets pretty rough politics there, isn't it? Than down the local level.
Yeah, and I would push. I mean, we keep saying lower level, local level. Almost should flip it that we're saying that the federal level is the lower chamber, state's the middle, and the local should be the higher. If we really want to get the people back involved and say it's higher.
Yeah.
In reality, I would love to see federal, whoever wins Congress, having a lot less duties, and we pushing them back to the state and the local.
Well, that's our Constitution.
Yeah, and we need to get back to that.
Yes.
And we're not seeing that because we keep saying, let's go to higher assembly, let's go to the higher chamber. We have this person with a higher title. Yeah. And I think it starts with the people. I mean, you mentioned we don't have a lot of groups at the school. I think you start pushing and saying, we have optimism clubs. We have nonprofits that are doing these work. Let's put more effort and support into these non-government entities that are doing the work we want them to, and stop relying on government. Stop saying it's the government's issue to make these things happen. I know at my race, 7 counties, people keep saying, and it breaks my heart. If I call them and say, do you have something in 2-3 weeks that I can come to? And they say, we will meet you tomorrow if you want to come out here. Yeah. And they will bend out backwards because we are not visiting them. Yeah. People are chasing the population. They're not chasing the small communities. They're not chasing the smaller population. Every person matters. And it breaks my heart when I come out there and they're like, we haven't spoke to an elected official or a candidate in 5 or 6 years.
I think people are reaching, don't you think, Freddie? They're looking. We're looking for someone to follow, to maybe take a lead to, I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, especially in a smaller community, we need a leader. When you're in, let's say, Denver, you got so many millions of people in Denver, it's hard to try to follow one person. There's so many options. Over here, we don't have a lot of options. We need a leader over here that's going to lead us the right way.
Yeah, I think, but this is where I always feel we're middle America, and this is where it starts. Yeah. And I'm sure as a farmer, I know, you still farm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, big city doesn't work out here in the little city where we farm and have cattle and farmland and the beef plant and Leprino. When you come from Denver, I mean, it's not. Freddie knows it firsthand. I mean, it's not the same.
I understood it when I got here because I came from New York, the East Coast side, and when I came over here, man, it changed my life around. It slowed me down to the point that I went last month, 2 months ago, and I came back in 5 days. Like, I can't deal with that over there. The traffic alone would get me crazy.
In a smaller community too, it's way easier and way faster to lose trust and respect for somebody because word gets around fast.
Oh yeah, definitely. How does that affect on the federal level when you're trying to? I don't want to say when you're trying to find common ground with local, with like us.
Well, and my hope is that the pendulum has swung so far that it'll start to come back and we can have those conversations and solve those problems at the federal level. The unfortunate part is, and Dusty's exactly right, the best form of government is your local governments. Those people that live in that community, deal in that community, work in that community, have neighbors in that community, and are accountable to those neighbors in that community. You get farther away from that community, it appears you have less accountability. We see that at the state level. My Senate district, when I served as a senator, was 11 counties. It was actually larger than 9 states. The landmass that I covered was larger than 9 states as a senator, but it was rural. Yeah. A lot of the same issues, and I did my best. I worked hard to try and get around. Matter of fact, my Senate district, which was 1/35 of the population of the state of Colorado, had 1/4 of all the school districts in the state in that 1/35.
Wow.
A lot of them are like here, Wiggins, Morgan, Brush. Then you go south, you got a Rickery, all those small little schools as well. I actually took a week and went to every school district to have a conversation. I wouldn't have the conversation with the administrators. I wanted to have the conversation with the teachers. And there was actually a couple schools that sent their student council president. And actually, interestingly enough, Wiggins was one of them.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming up and working for me at the Capitol.
Oh, nice.
So it worked out good. But when you get to the federal level, then you get much farther removed.
The disconnect.
Yeah, and you're representing 800,000 people. And how do you maintain contact
So
with
is it
800,000?
too much work then for one?
No, I don't think it's too much work for one. I just think that you have to have the desire to go to these communities and listen. And then Dusty's exactly right. At the federal level, our forefathers saw the importance of local governments, and then our 10th Amendment says that if it is not specified for the federal government to do, it is given to the states. And the federal government has gotten so good at getting around that by saying, okay, yeah, that's what it says.
we can handle
and
it.
it's your job to do that, but if you don't do it this way, we're not going to give you money.
Yeah.
Whether it's a speed limit, you remember now we have speed limits, seat belts, all of those were required by the federal government, and we're not going to give you money. There's so many things the federal government has done and said to get around the 10th Amendment. It says, well, you don't have to do it. You know, we're not telling you, we're not going to violate the Constitution. You don't have to do it. But if you don't, we're not going to give you these millions. And quite frankly, that's not the way government should work.
So they play bully ball.
They play bully ball. That's absolutely. Federal government's the biggest bullies in the world, and that's why they're so big. That's why they make all the rules, and they expect us to snap too. Whether it's the EPA, and this is outside the Congress and the U.S. Senate. I mean, this is the executive branch. All of us that went to school. Well, some schools, they don't even teach civics anymore, but you got three branches of government. You got the executive branch that enforces the rules, the legislative branch that makes the rules or the laws, and then the judicial branch. And what we have done is we have seen a graduation of the executive branch now also making the rules, because you have the EPA, you have the Department of Transportation sending all these rules down to the state that you got to follow. And if you don't follow them, we ain't giving you the money.
Yeah, there's
And they're accountable to nobody. They're not elected.
too many rules within the rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you got for him, Frey? I'll let you get the next question.
Let me see. Got a couple questions written down.
Well,
Can you explain what a special election means and how it works?
So, and let me say, I think might have been used in a commissioner race, or can be, or it does.
There usually isn't a special election here, and I'll go through this. Do you want to go through part of this? Why don't you go through the local elections, and then I'll talk about how they fill a vacancy, and then I'll talk about the federal election.
Yeah, so local level, we have 2 commissioner races up in Morgan County. And what they do is they went through the caucus and assembly to see if they would get onto the party ballot for the primary, which is June 25th.
There you go.
And so you will have 1 Republican candidate and 1 Democrat candidate for District 1, 2 Republican candidates and 1 Democrat candidate for District 3. And they are filling because their terms are up for those districts. And so District 3 and 1 is running for re-election. District 1, they are term limited.
Okay.
So it's just a normal process. You do get a vote 3 times this year. We already did the primary for the presidential. You're going to vote June 25th. Hopefully you vote for the primary. And then in November, you're going to vote for the general. And let's say if one of those commissioners would step down to their office, it would be a vacancy fill per their party's bylaws. And so it's a normal process that you fill to fill that term.
So it'd be if the third one would leave, right? Is that what you mean by vacancy?
Vacancy, so let's say you have
Because there's
commissioner.
two up,
There's 2 up.
and president electoral year. Does that sound right? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And there's the other one is in the next year, correct?
The next even year.
Okay. So then, what? So he could step down, and then is that what? Then
They could be removed for medical, not doing what they're supposed to. They step down for whatever reason.
Or they could die.
Or- yeah.
You know, someone not be able
Someone
to
can die, yeah. So
fulfill their duties.
Okay.
and so it's just to fill the rest of that term, but that's a simple process of if you have a Republican who's appointed that seat, it's a Republican that fills it.
Okay.
Democrat appointed, Democrat fills it because the people voted for that party to be in that office.
And why are they divide it up into district? Why do you have to live in the district to run for that position? For
Yeah.
that one that's up?
Yeah, so we have 3 districts in Morgan County. It's to make sure we have representation from across the county.
Okay.
Fort Morgan being the biggest, we don't want to see all 3 commissioners from Fort Morgan and saying that the big population is ruling the county.
Okay.
And that's a normal thing through all the counties is they separate it that way just to make sure they're giving representation from all the municipalities or those areas.
Okay.
But it is an at-large vote. So District 3 is kind of the Brush East area. District 1 is the Wiggins-Waldona West area.
Little
But
part of
everyone can
Oregon.
vote on all of them. Yeah.
Is there a big difference between the districts, or?
It's more by population that they split them. It's not by values. It's just to make sure we have someone from each area to make sure that all the county is represented. And then everyone gets to vote on all of them. So Commissioner 3, District 1, District 3, we all can vote on. It's just making sure they have those.
Okay.
And then you get to the state level, and every House district has 88,800 approximately people. And that's how they split these districts up.
We have how many districts?
We have 65
65. Okay.
on the House side, and we have 35 on the Senate side.
Okay.
Our state senator right now, they have 4-year terms. He's only in year 2 of his term, so he is not being elected this year. Hence, we only see the House side
Okay.
because they're up every 2 years. And it right now is an open seat. The current representative is vacating for another office. You can only run for 1 office at a time, and you can't have two campaigns going on at the same time.
Okay.
So you have to commit to which office you want to run for, and you can't. He's not running for his current seat then.
So if I were to using my words, like I said, dumb it down a little bit on terminology wise, power wise, commissioner, district, and then the next up to be the state, correct? So
Yep.
what power does each person hold? What can they do? Let's put it that way.
Commissioner, I would argue, is one of the most powerful elected officials in the
Commissioner?
country.
Really?
Yep.
Simply because they control the land use,
Okay.
how the land is used in that county. They can levy taxes with a vote of the people. They cover so many things, and
Interesting on that one.
and can do so much.
It makes sense why they try to kill the commissioner on Yellowstone all the time. That makes sense now.
Good reference.
So that is interesting on that one. I didn't know that.
See, and then you go to the state level, and all of a sudden you're one of 65 in the House of Representatives and one of 35 in the Senate that represent your area, and they make laws that may affect those commissioners or may affect those counties, but I would argue the commissioner still has more power. And then you get to Washington, D.C., and you have U.S. senators where there's 100, and then you have congressmen, there's 435, so you're one of 435.
Yeah.
I would argue they have very little power.
So when you're one of 3 here, I mean,
Yeah.
a little more power.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And they
My
actually have to
question
work
would be, if
together.
They have so little power. How come they're the only ones that don't have term limits?
Do your county commissioners
Yes,
in
ours-
Morgan
ours do.
County not have term
No,
limits?
Morgan
I'm
has.
at Congress, when you get all the way.
Oh,
up against
that's a great question. And the truth is, I advocate for term limits in Congress. And quite frankly, if I'm elected, I can tell you that I will only serve 4 terms. That's it. I think Colorado gets it right by having the term limits here at four terms in the House or 8 years. I would go 2 terms in the Senate there, which is their terms are 6 years. But I want to go back to your question that you had about vacancy and special election. There is a difference. All of the statewide and local, as Dusty said, if someone dies or resigns to do something else, they get some sort of other job that they need to vacate their elected, it is filled. The vacancy committee, however that is by the bylaws or the rules in that district, that vacancy committee picks the successor.
Okay.
Now, when you get to the federal level, those have to be elected. So if there's a vacancy, in this instance, Ken Buck resigned
Okay.
last month.
Do you have to give a reason? Is there a reason why, or just
He
personal?
did. He said he was tired of it. He
Okay.
said he
So
says
they
this.
don't get penalized for that?
No, he loses his job. He walks away. He's done. And so we're without representation right now. But the way that works, the Constitution says that representatives have to be elected.
Okay.
So you can't serve in Congress unless you're elected. So the way they do it, the way we do it in Colorado, is we go through a vacancy to pick our candidate.
Okay.
So the Republicans went through a vacancy to pick their candidate. The Democrats went through a vacancy to pick their candidate, and they're going to have a special election to fill out the last 6 months of this term.
And the people vote on it, or
The people, yeah, it'll be just like a general election, but those are the only people. That's the only general election that you get a vote on. It actually doesn't happen very often. Last time it happened was, oh gosh, now I can't think of the.
Honorable Schaefer, I think 1994. Bob Schaefer was by a special election the first time.
Oh, was he really?
Mm-hmm.
how do you remember that?
She's everywhere, man. She knows everything.
I don't think.
How long do they serve on their?
I think it was Dan Schaefer, not Bob Schaefer,
Maybe.
because Bob Schaefer served in the 2000s.
I think you just finished out the term.
He ended
But
it.
but what
Yeah.
Dan Schaefer, there was an astronaut that lived down by Burlington, Apollo 13, Schweigert.
Okay.
Is that his name?
Jim?
Now I'm embarrassed that I can't remember his name. He was elected to office,
Okay.
and before he could be sworn in, he died of cancer.
Oh man.
And so they had to do the vacancy, and that was years ago. And I believe Dan Schaefer filled that seat, if I remember correctly. Anyhow, if you're a U.S. senator, that Constitution doesn't apply to you as a U.S. senator. It says a congressman has to be elected. If you remember, if you go back to the old days, Congress used to pick our senators.
Yeah.
And then there was a change that allowed the states to elect the senators, so the requirement for them to be elected wasn't there. So a governor appoints a vacated Senate seat. Last time we saw that, if I remember correctly, was when Salazar went to work for the president, head of Department of the Interior, and then he was replaced by the
Is
governor.
he still here in Colorado?
I believe he still is.
Ken
They
was it,
still,
Ken? Or was his first?
yes,
Yeah,
Ken
Salazar,
and
right?
his younger brother was a congressman, John Salazar from
Yep.
the San Luis Valley. And they still have a ranch down there, and John still has a ranch down in. They still have a ranch in San Luis Valley, but I'm not sure. I think Ken's still practicing law with regard to natural resources issues.
So with that, and also kind of tie it in up with term limits. I'll go back to that a little bit. But do you believe if there should be age limit also?
No.
Age limit as far as how old you can be, or how I don't want to say this wrong. I don't want to say old people.
Yeah, because I'm an old person, all right?
No, okay. I'm going to put this out there because I'm just going to say it straight. I don't understand how we can have a Senate or House representative being willed up to the House to make a vote or on anything. I mean, you're sick, you're elder. I mean, you've served some time, you've done your time. Thank you for your time. But if you're already having some issues and it sounds bad, but I don't know how to put it right way.
Let me give you another side of that.
Okay.
Yeah, clean it up for him.
Would you eliminate somebody then that had a physical disability from serving?
I think they should help. They should stay and help next in line.
And to answer your question, I would not settle. I think the lower limits in our Constitution are good for the age requirements. I would not set a limit on the upper age.
Okay.
I would leave that up to the voters because the voters can make that decision. If you're too old to be here, it's time for us to elect somebody else.
'Cause I think definitely we need younger generation, but I don't think that we need to get rid of the older generation, because I think they need to keep us in line a little bit. We can't just don't give all the kids the power.
Somebody
need both,
relatable.
yeah.
Somebody relatable.
Yeah,
because
maybe hang out for a while, show them the rounds, stay around on for a year or two, but we need younger people.
We
need
do
to modernize it.
and there. Truth is, there's a lot of younger people in Congress. I served with a young lady in Congress that was Brittany 28 or 29, Brittany Pedersen, who
She
is
came
now
in
a
at 28.
congressman.
Yeah.
And she's just 30 or 31 now, I believe, and serving in
We're
Congress.
going to up and coming soon.
She's in Congress
yeah.
now.
Oh, but I mean, maybe up where we'll start recognizing, because I don't recognize the name. But
She's from
7?
Littleton.
Is that CD7 or?
Oh, you ask me such hard questions. That very well may be. I think Crow was 6. I think she is 7. That may be right.
so we got some.
There are young people there, absolutely. And then we got another young one. Gabe Evans is running for Congress in the new 8th district, a young military guy. I don't know how old Gabe is. Gabe's got to be 35 or so, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and I would say, no age restrictions. Someone at 50 could be incompetent to do it. Someone at 70 could be equipped to do it. It really is up to the people and what that community and district needs. And it does take both, like it does for all industries. You need someone who has the experience and who knows the history of it, good or bad, so they can say, we voted on this 6 years ago, this is what happened. And we can't get rid of that institutional knowledge, but you also need those fresh ideas, the new perspective, the energy, and it really does take both coming together. And it's where you need to work together and respect everyone, whether you agree or not,
Yeah.
just for what they are trying to do for their people.
Do you see modernization and them butting heads when in perfect examples that just like in our business, my dad and I butt heads because he's old school and he wants it this way. I want to modernize and I want to jump over the line that he wants to keep.
it's hard for you to get your voice heard.
Yeah, but it has to be the same way in Congress and Senate and
Absolutely. I mean, my father, when I was in high school, was the dumbest guy in the world.
oh yeah, all of our dads were. Yep.
Yeah.
And when I got to be 30, 35, I started to realize, my God, he's kind of smart guy. Now I'm 65, and he's 87, and he's probably the smartest man I know. And if I would have just paid attention to some of that wisdom he was trying to share back then.
That was a hard knocks life and street smarts.
Absolutely. But then there is the other side of that, where I see with my kids who are now running the farm and ranch that don't do it exactly the way I did. And son of a gun, it works. And I just was too dumb to loosen the reins and let them have a little more control. And there's always going to be that battle, whether it's in our businesses or whether it's in Congress. And you're going to have young people with new ideas and gung-ho ready to go. And then there's going to be some older guys that have some wisdom there that go, we actually tried that 20 years ago, and we tried that again 50 years ago, but maybe a new twist on it might work. Yeah. And they can solve problems together. I think that's a good option.
So being on the same farm for over 100 years, is it hard for you to modernize being stuck in your old ways? Or?
And the truth is, I was one of those farmers that always liked to experiment with new ideas.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I tried raising what's that? Blue corn for corn chips.
Okay.
Organic blue corn. Oh, that was a nightmare. But anyhow, tried to raise blue corn.
But it's actually blue, color blue?
Yeah.
Really?
It's used for those blue tortilla chips.
Oh, wow.
And it was a specialty market. But I liked trying that. I did no-till before most others around me did no-till. So I was always on the front edge of trying new ideas or experiment with new ideas.
So I got my chips colored. I dipped for the red on Cinco de Mayo. I put it in cherry schnapps. I dipped the chip in. And then you dip the green in apple schnapps. You get the green, then get the Mexican flag in it, and it's an amazing chip.
Oh,
Try it.
that sounds good. That sounds really good. Yeah.
So you get the Mexican color flags a single mile, but you dip them in the alcohol. So that's only, I didn't know they had actual blue chips.
Yeah.
Blue corn, anyways.
But my kids want to try new stuff as well, and it's hard for me because I've been seasoned for 50 years or 45 years that this works and this doesn't. But the technology has changed so much. You try to loosen the reins and say, all right, try it. Matter of fact, we had a conversation. I'd like to try 160 acres of this crop.
Do you
Okay.
bale hay?
Yeah,
So round or square?
we do squares.
Because that was a more modern idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Did that change? It's always been squares?
No, we did some rounds. Actually, some of our customers do like rounds.
Because you get more or not?
No, actually, for some of them, it's easier to feed because they can unroll them out in the pasture, but they're easier to haul if they're squares. We used to do 4x4s. We still have a 4x4 baler. We have a 3x4 baler. Most of our people are wanting to go to 3x4s just because they're easier to handle. They're easier to haul. But yeah, we do. We modernize there as well.
How are you dealing with the price and the farm equipment now, man? They're going into the millions now.
That's crazy. The farm equipment.
Man, even with the new trucks, the new 4x4 pickup trucks. You're spending $80,000 for a brand new truck.
Yeah.
You don't want to farm with it. You want to keep it in the garage. So it's
And now they want to put the farmers on electric.
Oh yeah.
So I got an electric Jeep because it once it's out here. But I'll tell you what, the get up and go on it, amazing. Now you'll never convince me it's going to pull a trailer like a F-350 or a the Duramax in an electric. No way.
They're experimenting with electric semis.
I see, yeah.
Now, I can't imagine what that's going to be like when it gets cold in the blizzard and how that battery holds up where you normally go 400 miles to your next station to charge.
Yeah.
And that electric cold, you know how that works on batteries. All of a sudden, you're 250 miles and no way to charge it. So I don't know how that's going to work.
And
like actually a Harley driver that's sitting here and go electric with your Harley.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put those cards like we did in our bicycles to make it sound good.
So they got Anheuser-Busch is doing an experiment in Denver with no driver and electric semis.
Yes, they are.
That's crazy. Could you imagine a Hell's Angel sitting on an electric? It's not going to work. Or Bandito. They're not gonna.
There's no cool way to be at the red light
Yep.
on an electric Harley.
Self-driving motorcycle.
Yeah, just sitting there sleeping, taking a nap on the bucket, the sidecar. So we know we already about an hour. I mean, we discussed probably very few of what we wanted to discuss, but I think we had a good conversation. We'll go a few more minutes if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely. I'll stay as long as you want. Okay. You can break it in 2 segments if you want. I don't care.
So Freddie's going to have to go on the next questions because I just done the last battery on my questions. So there you go for electric. There you go for electric.
There you go. Dadgummit. You need a gas-powered iPad.
There you go.
What is something that we as a people can do to be more informed and educated in all forms of government?
Dusty talked about that earlier, and that's a 1-sentence deal. Get involved.
Yep. Get active, get involved, and vote.
Do you think, why is there so much pushback when we do try to get involved?
I'd like to know where your pushback is coming from because
Idea, like when you have a new idea and you want to see if it works.
and I get that. It's no different than the pushback with your father in the business. You got to figure out how to communicate that in a different way so that he can get excited about it, whether you make it his idea, whatever that is. And I think you have to do that anytime you get involved with a new idea. What about this? What about that? And maybe you put that in their head so they start talking about it. A lot of different options there to try and communicate. And that's just not in politics. That's in business or wherever else, or where you're trying to, how you're trying to set yourself apart as a liquor store from the other liquor stores. What makes you different?
Back in the day, it took for the next best thing to come up, It took 5-10 years. Now the next best thing comes next
Tomorrow.
week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's changing
gone just as
constant.
fast.
Constant. Yeah, exactly. Comes and goes.
You talk about that farm machinery, you buy a piece of farm machinery and all of a sudden it's outdated.
Yeah.
Mine GPS, you buy it a couple years, now we have an update and you got to spend, I better be quiet. I'm going to make my John Deere dealer upset with me.
With the phones, there's a new phone that comes out every
Yeah.
6 months now. Every 6 months, a new phone is
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Before it took 2-3 years. Now it's
Yeah, get your checkbook out, write $800 check and buy a new phone.
It's hard to keep up.
And with phones, they want to talk about, oh, you get all these features. How come none of those features are batteries?
One's there.
And we only use about 20% of our
We
features.
want to power our vehicles with batteries, but we can't even power our phones with batteries.
Yeah. So what about an idea on a hot topic, an issue that in government that's probably going to affect us here pretty soon? It's immigration.
Immigration.
Why is it? So I come from a father that's from Mexico. Okay. He came here illegally. He'll straight up tell you. I'll introduce you to him after we're done talking. But the laws have always been. He stood in line. He got pardoned when Clinton was president. Why is there such an issue now?
I think the issue is that we've created a crisis with immigration. There's no question that
Because we just can't afford it right now. Our country can't afford it.
our local communities can't afford it.
Yeah.
When you're talking busloads of people being dropped off in a strange community, and say, go
See you
find, go survive, and if they have families. And then we've also created another thing by opening those borders, by creating a superhighway for drug cartel, which again doesn't make our communities safe.
And when we say immigration, I mean everyone thinks right away Hispanics, Mexicans from Mexico. These days it's not anymore.
Oh no, you've got immigration from all over the world, people coming in. Now, a lot of them are going in to Mexico and coming up that way because that's the easiest path in. But I don't know what percentage of immigrants coming here are non-Mexican, but I'll bet it's over half.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we need people that want to work and want to better themselves.
Definitely, because there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad.
There is my son. He went to Yuma High School. We lived in Sterling's district, but thankful that you could go to schools that better suited your kids, and they have an excellent ag program down there. And he went down there, and half of his classmates were kids from illegal immigrants that were working for a living down there.
Yeah.
That were trying to navigate the system, and the system was so convoluted that they couldn't navigate it.
Yeah.
But they continued to work, continued to be positive to society, and those kids have grown up to be good, solid community members. Many of them own their own businesses. We have to fix that system. But before we fix that system, we have to secure the border so it doesn't cause a crisis for our health departments and all of those.
Our schools for the kids.
Yeah,
Why don't we do? Why doesn't there? We give, you give. With that.
What do you mean?
So, I know these guys have heard me talk about this before, but at 18, I have to sign up for the military. You want to come to the United States, serve our country, learn our language, get some schooling. You're done in 4 years. You have something. As a father, even though you had kids in school, but it's a win-win for both of us. You get educated. You get educated in a job. You learn English. You learn how to write it. Your mom and your dad, or whoever, obviously there's age limits. They're going to be grandpa and grandma running around with the soldiers, but it's a win-win for both of us that way.
That's because 8 out of 10 aren't coming with that agenda.
Well, obviously, there's a vetting process, and you're going to hopefully get through those issues. But why not? You want to be a citizen? You serve for us for 4 years, then we'll give you your citizenship.
We do have that process. I know my brother served with a lot that they would come in with the idea that we will give 4 years, same contract of any other soldier.
Even if it's not even the straight the military, the reserves type thing, like the boot camp type thing. Not boot camp. What is the
ROTC?
There you go. Yeah, something like that.
Good question. Another great option.
I think we both
I think it goes back to a lot what you said, though, that the number of people are coming here with different intentions and really don't have the desire maybe to be in a citizen or to
you
just
have to be a
take
good
advantage.
vetting process, obviously. But I mean, who wouldn't want? You get an education, you learn to read and write our language, you serve our country, you get your citizenship, you get out of there, and you're educated for a good job.
Yeah.
But look at what look at what New York is doing. They're catering to them, and they're just running amok in
Yeah.
New York City. I mean,
That's
so
like
it's just
Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to get worse if we don't change or have an idea to change it.
Well, and as I said, I think in order for us to solve that problem and rebuild or to fix the immigration system, we've got to stop the bus loads from coming in here and creating such havoc on our society and a draw on our taxpayer dollars. There are ways to do this, and we have legal ways that sometimes take too long, that we need to speed up that process as well, because I can tell you there are workers here.
Oh yeah,
I mean, South Africans come in here all the time to help in agriculture as well.
and when it comes to small business, I mean, for us, I mean, we love it. I mean, we get more customers. I'm totally agree with that, but we can't afford it
Yeah.
because our taxes are just, we get taxed up. You know what?
Yeah.
In our business, so more and more they take, the more and more we're going to pay taxes.
Yeah,
It got to stop somewhere.
Stuff's already too expensive.
Yeah.
yeah,
$3 when we were talking about cigarettes, $3.50 32 years ago when my folks bought the business. It's $11.50 now.
yeah,
In 32 years. I mean,
Yeah.
and the wages are almost the same.
yeah.
My dad came here, worked the beef plant, $3.50 an hour. He started in 1969, double shifts, lugging beef when they were, I mean, he did
Oh, he was a lugger.
on his shoulder. Yep.
Yep, and then take him to the truck.
Yep.
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 That's old school.
That guy's a stud. That guy's a stud.
Well, that was work.
Yeah, it was work. Yeah, and there was an art to it.
Yeah.
There was an art to it.
So other than immigration, Freddie, what do you feel is probably a big issue right now?
Over here in Morgan County, housing.
Yeah.
It's the housing, man. It's too many people. For the influx of people, there's not enough housing.
I don't know. In
Yeah.
the area of Sterling, is it the same problem?
Sure, it's same problem statewide, and a lot of that. And I'm doing all the talking. I should let you. Part of that issue is we put so many regulations on the people that build houses
Yeah.
that increases the costs. And the people that are putting those regulations are trying to solve the problem and want us to build more houses or want these people to build more houses, but we make it more difficult. You got to have this electric box in there in case you have an electric car, which costs an extra whatever dollars amount. You have to have all of these different things, which has increased the cost of building a house. So they're not affordable.
You got the landlords wanting to build though, but you're giving all the renters these rights.
Well, and that's it. Go ahead. I'll be
good.
quiet. You'll get me wound up because
You will. It's
for
good.
16 years I fought this.
I mean, if you miss your rent, look, man, you got to go. If you get paid 1 month, you ain't gonna pay next month, and you're gonna pay the month after that. Why
and-
should I, as a landlord,
Yeah.
let you stay there?
Well, see, and there's differences. If he mentioned affordable, and we need to separate affordable with low income. Affordable really is, can we get it on the market? Is that meaning you have the next level? Most people have 4 houses in their life. The beginning, then the second, then they move to almost their long term, and then the retirement.
Yeah.
And we need that cycle because as you move into the next stage, or unfortunately you die and you open it up again, it leaves for people to have that transition and to better themselves. And you can go for the next pay raise. You can go for that next betterment of your life or your family's expansion. But now we're looking because there's a lot of places we can't build more housing. And we do have that rental market.
I like
but we are
the-
picking winners and losers between rentees and rentors. I could rent from you. You can't remove me now if you try
Yeah,
to for
that's
whatever
ridiculous.
reason. I have court fees. I have supplemental payments.
And you
I
can just
have
come here and
all
say
of
you have a
these.
lease and stay.
Now, mind you, yeah.
Squatters, yeah, that's real, man.
And we're not protecting the property owner. You should be able to say who can or can't come to your house.
Yeah.
You can't discriminate, right? You have a contract, you have to abide by it. You miss your land rent, you miss your payment, the government's coming after you, the bank's coming after you, they're taking your land. I don't rent
Yeah,
it,
you
they
missed
ain't
your
coming
tax
after
payment.
me. Yeah, and it's tax day today, by the way.
Oh, it is. Huh?
And,
Yeah.
A lot of the new rentals that are going up over here, you have to be working in ag to be able to rent. And the rental communities, the big communities, like the ones over there by Cargill,
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to bring. Yeah. I think that's a good. The Cargill is buying up, building these houses. It's a stepping stone for their workers, like you say, to transit to your second house, which I think is. I don't know the whole.
Oh, and I
deal
love
about
the
it, but
idea of them
it sounds
providing
like it's a good
yeah.
idea. I
I mean,
don't know.
they have the
paper-wise,
labor, so they're helping provide some of the housing.
and they're always going to get their rent because you're going to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great benefit. Cargill has done some great things.
Do they
to try
charge
and
you
figure out-
more rent? Is rent more than normal? I don't. No. What?
I have no idea.
What's that?
I said I'm paying good rent in Brush. So
Because did they give you that option when you moved to work here for Cargill?
no, they put me in a hotel for a month, and they said find your way. Luckily, the spot I was working, the table I was working with in Cargo, there was a guy that was renting a room, and I got a room ASAP. But there was people that came the same time as me, and they got put out of the hotel. Or if not, you're gonna have to pay $700 a week.
Dang.
A week.
Dang.
Yeah. And
So they're doing it. I guess it could probably be a good program with the new housing that they got. I know they just bought the hotel behind Dairy Queen.
Oh.
It's going to turn into apartments complex. So
Well, I'm all for the private market of they see a demand. I mean, they have buses. I'm not sure if they still do going to Sterling. I know they have some in Greeley because they have the workers spread out around this area. Getting them in because they need the workforce. They're not at full capacity.
Yeah.
We have a housing deficit. But again, when government comes in and tells you how to run it, you can only have this many people in your house. You have to have this green energy. You have to have this EV in your system. You have to mess with this electric coding that's expensive. But now you have to keep it at market rate and affordable. But we've already added all these regulations to you.
can't just build a
It doesn't
steakhouse
make
anymore, huh?
sense.
the materials aren't even the same. The materials
No,
are
they
cheaper
don't
now,
last.
man.
They don't last.
Yeah.
They don't last. So, good.
I was just going to say, I saw a picture of the evolution of the 2x4
see
over the
that?
last.
Yes.
You saw that as
Oh
well.
my God, I did.
Incredible how much that they've shaved off so they can
This
get a
to
little
this.
extra.
Really?
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
You wonder why a 2x4 is an inch and a half now by 3.5 instead of 2x4.
My dad built the office where Monica and Eric are at. The office is there. My dad built that one. 2x6 walls. He said, I don't use those 2x4s. So he went the bigger, stout house. It won't ever move. So with we'll wrap it up here. We're going. What are we at? An hour and a half? Hour 15. So for us, what would you tell us, new voters, to do?
Well, obviously, I'd tell you to vote for Sonnenberg for Congress. And I would say that because I want you to get educated. And you can do that at sonnenbergforcongress.com.
Okay.
And look up those people that are running, look at their websites, and then reach out to them. But I can tell you what's important to you should be important to that congressman. And that's how you pick your congressman. So if integrity and character are important, great. If they want to close the border and that's important to you, great. If you're worried about inflation and want to cap our national debt, and that congressman wants to do that, you keep that in mind as you're making that vote. If you want someone that's embedded in the community, someone that has grown up around here, that you know, that the community knows as well, that you can trust, if that's important to you, that's how you pick your candidate. And you sort through all them. And I'll tell you, there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. But there's a candidate that aligns closer to you than the others. Oftentimes, when we hear this all the time, you're choosing the least of two evils, which I would argue is not the case. There are a lot of people that supported both of those candidates. You may not like them as much. You may like somebody better. But one of those two candidates or one of those three candidates you align yourself closer to is more like you. Pick a candidate and get behind him.
So would you say
He just sold me. He just sold me. I promise. If you were selling a car, I would have bought it.
Make your checks to Sonnenberg for Congress.
So would you tell me to vote for you because we could be friends and we could probably go have a beer, or because we disagree on some issues and but still be friends?
Both. Yeah. I think I want to be able to go have a beer with you if you want to have a beer and talk issues. And if we disagree, we can shake hands and understand that, like my wife, we're not going to agree all the time, but we can have a conversation and I can understand you and you can understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And as long as we have that understanding, okay, we're not going to agree on this, but we're going to agree on 90% of the stuff.
The makeup is just going to be a little bit different. It's not gonna make up the same.
Well, no, and to add what Jerry said, I mean, educate yourself. And I would challenge you, don't watch the basic media. Don't look at your newspapers. Don't look at what they're putting out there, because that can be skewed, and that's a third research. Go directly to the candidate. Go to their websites. I mean, you can go to dustyforcolorado.com. Or the other opponents. I had to pull a Jerry, what he did. But really question them. Reach out. Go to their cell phone. Call them. Go to their email. Reach out to them. I would urge you, maybe don't Facebook message them, but don't put a Facebook comment, because a lot of the times that could be staff.
Yeah.
That can't be them. Go direct to the source. Ask them the questions. And make sure, even if you don't align all the time, that they're going to give you a solid answer. Not a tiptoe answer. Not a softball kind of fluffy question because I want you to like me at the end of the day. Yeah. For me, I can guarantee what you see is what you get. You might not like my answers, but I'll tell you my truth. I'll tell you what I'm voting for, how I'm voting for it. I'll tell you what my opinion is. And if you don't like it, I will tell you another resource to go look at and get your own information. Right. Like every ballot initiative when I was chair, I would tell you the pros, the cons, and my opinion. But I want you to go make your own education. I want you to go make your choice. And if that's over a beer, if that's over a cell phone call, if it's at an event you want me to come to, I will drive to you. I'm having community roundtables. I want to be where the people are.
Like
you shouldn't chase me.
Every part of Eastern Colorado. I see her post up. She's shooting guns, or at a gun range. She's at the old folks home. You're at the.
She is everywhere.
It don't matter. It don't matter what your opinion is. It's real, recognized real at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we've reached out to several, and we've had several come on and. How do I want to say this? Also, it's one-sided right now on who will come on and talk to us, and it's weird. And who will come in, who will return a phone call or a text, email? Right now, it's one-sided.
See, and that's unfortunate because, as Dusty said,
no, I better correct that first. I'm sorry to interrupt you, because Jody I really like Jody, and she's awesome. Freddie missed that one. William was with me, and Jody's. Independent or unaffiliated.
Democrat.
She had to go Democrat, but a very good lady. She's come on and I've really changed my opinions on her. So sorry to interrupt, but
I was just to say that the neatest thing I think about everybody that I've met through this so far is the fact that they're willing to listen and at least hear what you have to say and have a conversation.
Yeah, not just get one word answer and see you later.
And those people that don't respond, those aren't the kind of representatives I want.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and I get the fact that you guys are busy, and we're just one of many. But even if it's a response a month later or 2 months later, it's something.
And I would even push. I mean, it's the thing that's breaking my heart when people say I reach out and they haven't heard from someone.
No.
That's not right. We are working for you. We want to be hired by you. There's a reason I put my resume on my website. Don't accept mediocre of they got back to me in 2 months, I feel important. No. They should at least reply to you. I make sure everyone who reaches out, I will say, hey, I'm busy, but I will get back to you.
Yeah.
I've seen your message. I will get back to you. Yeah. Don't accept no replies.
Especially to the ones that never voted, because I never voted. So to get my
like I said, I think we're in the important ones, because the ones that have voted are in the bag. I mean, they're going to vote for somebody. 7,000 voted out of 17,000 in Morgan County. I think it's kind of not cool.
I kind of worry about the current voters, though, getting disillusioned, because things are getting to that point.
I think they're more. They're probably set in their ways already, aren't they? Those voters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not always. I think they.
I mean, they probably
push,
change their mind, but they're going to vote.
I think there are a number of people that grew up in the world that it was their responsibility to vote. Don't complain. If you're not going to vote, don't come complaining to
That's
me.
so her
Yeah,
slogan over here.
absolutely.
If you're not at the
Absolutely.
table, you don't get fed. If
Yep.
you don't vote, then your voice isn't heard.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I said, it's been one sided. But the other thing I was really disappointed is when we went to the ballot university is that Dusty and two others.
3 out of 26 invited candidates.
Three. Yep, three.
Yep.
I just got lucky enough just to we got asked to go. Freddie was working.
I was working.
William works at night. So, but I
And mind
got
you,
the
Kevin
chance.
did get some responses from some candidates that had prior obligations.
Yeah, totally
and
get
they
that
do
one.
have the green light, yellow light, red light.
Yeah.
If they have an obligation, they're not going to look for something that looks shinier.
Yeah.
If they have a commitment here, the yellow light is if weather comes up or that event's canceled, I can go to this. But I've
then-
given my word here. So some of them did reply that
Yeah.
way. So not to throw out that there was only but.
And then again, one sided.
Well, see, and I would question. I mean, we're here not to be liked. We're here to be the voice.
Yeah.
If someone can't have that tough conflict, like the conversation that might be conflicted, if they can't face conflict, if they can't answer you on the fly and they have to get back to you in 6 days, or they won't do a live interview, they won't do a debate. If they don't know what they stand for and they can't readily say it, I would question if I want them to be my voice.
Yeah.
They should
Especially
know where their
debate.
principles
Especially
are. They should
debate.
know where their says are.
Yeah.
They should know what they want to say, and you're not going to be liked by everyone.
Yeah.
You're going to have people who don't like you. You don't want someone who's wishy-washy, just looking for friends. We're not here to make friends. We're not here to be popular. We're here to do the hard work.
If you can't make it happen at our level, we like the lower level, then you're not going to
Yeah.
make it at the higher level.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Oh, and push them. We really want to work for you. We want to be hired. I can speak for Jerry and I. We want to serve the people. Don't accept mediocre. If they don't reply to you in a week, that is a responsible time for them to reply. Push back and say, no, I'm going to be hiring you potentially. You need to reply to me.
I think I'm farther behind than that. Let me
Okay, well, fair. Okay, so we'll put it maybe 2 weeks for schedule, but
You don't go to. I wouldn't go to try to work for Juan and show up in my pajamas and slippers, and then when he's asking me why should I hire you, be like, I don't know.
Yeah. So
What's the expectation that I'm really gonna get hired?
you gotta be professional. I mean, somewhat professional about it. And when I came over to do this today, I thought, how am I going to present myself? The way you see me today is the way you see me at the store, and probably see me on the street. I'm ready to. I didn't want to give off a different. I didn't want to come in suit and tie. I know you did, and my mom or my dad would probably say, it's probably disrespectful. We probably should have wore a button-up shirt, but
No,
this is
no.
me.
I wore a suit and tie because I was at the legislature today at a memorial for a former senator that had passed on. They did a Senate memorial today, so I threw my tie and my coat on.
I'm a jeans and t-shirts guy all the time.
Yeah. So, anything else, Freddie?
No, that's it. We good, man. It was a good conversation. I like
So I'll let you both leave us with one, whatever you think. Whether you're going to sell us on a vote or just tell us who you are. One last.
got me. I'm ready to buy the Lamborghini.
I'll just tell you that we live in the greatest country in the world.
Oh, for sure.
And for us to keep this country, we got to get involved.
Amen.
Yep.
I'd ask you to get involved.
Dusty.
I would, get active, get involved, make sure you're voting and reaching out to your candidates. Hold them accountable. Don't let them slide with excuses. And just make sure you're getting informed on what matters to you and letting people know what matters to you. Be that voice. Reach out to us. I will say that titles are earned, but they don't mean anything. Look for the people who have passion, who have been in this community, who are driven to keep this community what it is and to maintain it so it's not taken over.
Hey, you heard it. Dusty Johnson.
there you go.
Everywhere. She's everywhere. You're never there.
Yep.
Send them slogan. She's everywhere. You're never there.
I've learned more doing this though and talking to people.
Definitely.
than just in the couple months that we've been doing this, than I think I learned in my entire million years. It feels like I'm already old. You know.
I think that it's been different for me. It's been you've got some hate, you've got some you pushback, you get some good comments, you get bad ones. But yeah, it's. I think we made a good decision doing some of this stuff.
You guys missed it when we was first started. We had food, drinks everywhere. And I mean, and we turned into politicians now with the political.
Now
way.
he's sad, yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
I would really say, though, you mentioned the education, and at the end of the day, no matter what this year leads to, it's where's Dusty, where's Waldo? It's who's doing what to advocate and spread the message and be educational. At the end of the day, I'm a candidate. I want to sell myself, but really, I want to sell our community and make people aware of what they didn't know.
Yeah. So I did an art piece that hopefully it's a digital graphic design art piece. But I did hopefully it'll come out, and we'll see if it comes out in one of the newspapers. But the new 4-letter word is vote. I'll send it to you guys so you guys can see it. But it seems that's what it is because
Cool.
It seems like we always end up getting the same of what we have, and that's bad. So with that, anything else? One last note.
We have Food Truck Friday coming up
Yes.
this Friday. Hopefully, you guys will show up.
I'll be there.
You know?
We do it once a month, every month till October. So if you can't, you can do the next one. But it is a good place to meet and greet, do your spill, or just shake some hands, say hi.
That's the babies.
So you got till October to sell me that car.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I get that confused. I shake babies and kiss hands.
With that, guys, hopefully you'll see these guys. I know we're going to see Dusty out there. She's already planned on it.
If you're quick enough to pay attention.
Yep, she'll probably be there for a minute because she has to go shoot guns or something. But
I'll be there for a while. I like food.
the longest spot I've seen her in is here and at the comedy show. Other than that, it's like, hi, bye. I got to go to the next one.
We were at the gala together for like 4 hours.
Oh, that's right. We did go to the gala. That was interesting. That was an interesting one. So, but thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping in. This is going to be a good one to put up. We got it all good audio and video, and we'll put it up as soon as I get it all smashed together and go from there. So thank you
Appreciate
again.
you guys for coming.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.